Hi, and welcome to a Sense of Wellness podcast, inspiring and empowering a healthier you. I'm your host, Susan Greeley, and I'll be diving deeper into the 4 pillars of wellness: sleep, exercise, nutrition, and stress management. In today's episode, we're talking nutrition and mental health, some of my favorite topics. May is Mental Health Awareness Month, and because so much of our well-being, including mental well-being, is tied to our diet and nutrition, I want to go into specifics of food, mood, mental health, and the gut-brain connection, as well as how our gastrointestinal system, or GI tract, may hold the key to longevity. It's a very exciting area of health. So that said, I'm really thrilled to start this discussion with my guest, Dr. Angela Zeng. Angela earned her PhD in pathology and has a very extensive academic background in the areas of biochemistry and pathology, along with earning her MBA. But what's really amazing is that Angela made a transition from medical research to becoming a pioneering entrepreneur in the highly competitive beverage space. Her greatest passion, however, comes from her roots in traditional Chinese medicine, having grown up in China. So Angela, it is so exciting to have you with me today. I'm really thrilled to meet you and get this conversation started.
Hi, Susan. It is really nice to be your guest here. I have to say, I'm just always thrilled to share the ancient wisdom, of course, backed by the medical science now these days with people around us. I just want people to feel better, not just feel healthier, but also mentally feel better. And really appreciate your kind intro. Yes, I was born and raised in China, moved to this country about 30 years ago to pursue my PhD in pathology, did many years of medical research, mainly in cell and molecular biology, try to understand heart disease and cancer from that angle. Lots of work under the super powerful microscope, but deep in my core, I have just family heritage roots deeply rooted in the traditional Chinese medicine. And that's, I would say, healing art or healing science, however you want to call it, is what drive me to start this Karviva Beverages you just mentioned. Not because I got bored of my research bench and then I suddenly feel like, how about I'm going to make some beverages and be here on Shark Tank or whatever. The typical story you hear, lots of entrepreneurs in the food and beverage industry. So for me, it is kind of my knowledge over years that I accumulate in this traditional wisdom using natural food, natural herbs, and also many lifestyle practice to solve many of our health issues and make us happier. And by the way, Karviva comes from I combined 2 words together. Karuna is actually an ancient Indian word that means compassion. So we believe is one of the 4 foundations for happiness, right? So it makes lots of sense. A person without compassion, it's just really hard that you cannot have that empathy, sympathy, or those kind of things with your surroundings. Doesn't matter, your families, your friends, other people, other life forms, or even nature. It is hard to eventually feel happy. And we see that a lot now these days, especially being surrounded by artificial world, right? In terms of electronics, all those things, device we relied on. The other word in Karviva is viva. It's an Italian word for longevity, happiness. So that makes lots of sense in terms of what I'm doing is the perfect marriage of Far East traditional healing arts with, of course, what we are doing now these days and in the medical field. And I appreciate you started by saying May is the mental wellness month. It is, I would say, every month or every day should be mental wellness time for us. Kind of just take a moment to think about, am I feeling happy? Or basic question, am I okay? I think now these days, because we all have crazy busy schedule, doesn't matter what you do. You can be a stay-at-home mom, but I'm sure your schedule is still can be everywhere. It's not easy to juggle so many balls Well, the modern society has so many demanding, I would say, standards put upon us. Sometimes we have this unfair self-judgments against ourselves, right? Especially now these days, whenever we look at some social media posting, right? It's not limited to teenage girls. We feel like, how come this lady or this person looks so happy, so pretty? Well, I'm just feeling miserable here. I feel like I've done everything I can. Well, I will say mental wellness, I will say it's not about how we look or how other people perceive how we look. I think it comes in a whole package. Let's just use, goes back to the traditional Chinese wisdom thing, right? Spring is a season for growth. So by logic thinking, we would think spring, we should be happy because we see flowers are blooming, and there's so many things you can do outside if you enjoy gardening, or it doesn't matter, take a walking, in the nature, just get some fresh air. However, I will tell you, spring is the season. If you talk to any clinicians, they will tell you, you see people actually get more anxious. Sometimes you have more people feeling almost like this anxiety attack, especially on the first day of spring, when you have suddenly it's like, just get so warm, all the flowers suddenly start to bloom all together. You just feel like something's not right. And I can tell you why, right? You will see that nothing is like something wrong with my body. No, it's just basically in the lens of traditional Chinese medicine, each season ties to a organ in our system. You're like, what? Spring is the season of wood, right? It's different elements. So we have 5 elements there. So spring is the season of wood. Just think about a tree. Trees are growing. And wood, when it reflects with our internal organ system, is liver. Well, it's not just liver, that organ itself, it's a system. So again, going back to just imagine yourself, thousands or even millions of years ago, we didn't have any fancy advanced medical device, right? We didn't know we have heart here, we have liver here and stomach. Well, all we know is how we feel. We try to tune to ourselves. This mindfulness practice guided us, the human beings, throughout the evolution, the history. That's why we're here. That's something we're lacking now. So basically, liver is tied to the wood and wood is tied to the spring season. However, because of the modern life we have now these days, we have this liver qi problems. So again, goes back to the ancient wisdom. We believe many of the disease or unhappiness or the anxiety thing we're feeling is because of blockage somewhere in our system. And there are simple ways actually to unblock them. Can be through eating certain kind of food, can be using certain kind of herbs, herbal teas, remedies, or can be simple, I would say, lifestyle adjustment. It can be you practice certain, doesn't have to be Tai Chi, it can be yoga, meditation. And for many people, surprisingly, the person who feel this anxiety a lot, those people are actually super creative in terms of, especially when it comes to art. So the simple thing you can do is just let your creativity flow. You can say, I don't know how to paint. You surprise yourself. Grab the pencil or a paintbrush. Nobody is going to judge you. Just paint whatever or draw whatever you like. Or just, you will say, I'm going to renovate my room. You have that opportunity, paint a different color. In many cases, you will feel much better. That could be the simple therapy. You don't need any drugs. You don't need any hormone therapy. Many cases that can be solved. So again, sorry, Suzanne, I'm just keep talking. but spring, I'm just saying, using spring as the example, it actually why it is related with mental wellness, anxiety attack. Many people feel now in the modern days, and then ways to overcome that.
Right. Thank you. That was quite the intro. And you touched on many of my questions already, explaining your company, Karviva Beverages, and I loved the name alone and how it came from two different words meaning compassion and life. And so thank you for that explanation. As far as May being Mental Health Awareness Month, you and I definitely want to dive a little deeper into the gut-brain connection and nutrition. And it's loaded with a lot of information. And I want to take it back to your background again, Angela. You started into spring and the seasonal effect of why people may be struggling with anxiety. But let's start again back, even in your childhood. I think it's important for all of us to understand where East meets West with our health and well-being and our approach to medicine in this modern society that we live in. My question in all of this is, can you explain for listeners what really is traditional Chinese medicine? What is the foundation of your own knowledge and learning and how it led you to combining all of this research in the West to focus on helping people truly thrive and combat chronic disease? That's what we're getting at.
Mm-hmm. Sure. Yeah, that's a great question. So why I fall in love with the traditional Chinese medicine? Two reasons. First, it was a childhood experience. When I was about 5, my mom took me to a traditional Chinese herbal shop. It was just the routine days. And my mom is a firm believer of the traditional medicine as well. So when you're not feeling well, you go to see this traditional medical doctor, and then they do the diagnosis is very different than the modern. I'll say you go to your primary care physician. Just imagine in the old days, there was no device to measure blood pressure. Of course, there's no blood test. And so basically it was all through extremely fine-tuned observation. For example, they would look at your facial kind of color, even the wrinkle, where they are on your face, the tone of your talks when you speak. And then two things they really like to do, depends on whether you go to Japan or China, they feel your pulse. And in Japan, the traditional doctor likes to feel your abs. Not the typical ab examination you do with your primary care. They really touch different parts of your body, and they like you to do different twisting. From there, they control a lot in terms of whether you have some issue with your internal organ or you have an injury somewhere. So they do all these things. And then the amazing thing is a really good traditional doctor would spend time even just to understand your emotional well-being. And many times they don't necessarily serve as the typical psychologist here or therapist here, but when the patient really opens up their heart, when they have telling the whatever bothers their mind, you can even feel it from their pulse. You can sense that. And there are different ways you have to measure both right hand, left hand, and different spots. It will tell a lot in terms of what's going on inside your body. So I watched all those, but when I went into that traditional herbal medicine shop, right? They give you a prescription. You go to those herbal shops, they open up different drawers, use those little scale, really cute one and measure them and put them into 5 different paper bags and then tell you, I'll go home, boil them in water steam them 30 minutes, an hour, and drink it 3 times a day or 2 times a day. That itself, to me, was fascinating, especially the aroma, that kind of just imagine that beautiful, ancient, antique setting of that medicine cabin and how they magically put the things together. And when you go home with these remedies, after a few days, you start to feel better. If people say that's all voodoo science, I don't know what to say. I mean, it worked for thousands of years, actually much longer than thousands of years, right? So there are lots of wisdom behind. And that wisdom is actually accumulated through years and years of practice. In certain way, it's almost like empirical study passed on through generations. A kind of not in current clinical study design standard. It's not the clinical study per se, but in certain way it is. Pass on generation through generation. What would work? How do you combine why do you combine different herbs? And when to harvest different herbs. And then what are the symptoms telling whether that's a problem with your heart, with your liver, with your kidney? or whatever. And then they would find ways to try to solve that issue. And the key thing is to prevent you from getting sick. It's this fine observation of how you feel, different parts of your body, what they try to tell you that we now these days totally ignore because of our busy life schedule, right? We rely on technology. It's almost like if you ask kids to use calculator all the time, so of course they cannot do simple math anymore in their head, mental math, and that ability is kind of vanished because of that. Versus the modern medicine, if you really go back to the history, see where the modern medicine came from, when it started, it's actually started from all this herbal stuff. Then the chemistry started to be involved. I'm sure people learn about, alchemy, all those histories back in the old days. They were doing all kinds of crazy things. They were hoping to turn stones into gold, making crystals from simple ingredients. I don't know about that. But again, went through that whole path, and then we start to find ways to isolate chemical compounds, condense them, and manually synthesize them. And we be able to, because this highly concentrated one single compound, we can study it closely. We can do study on animal models and then human models. That's clinical study. And then we start to understand, this compound do whatever thing and can be a fantastic magic pill, right? So it actually is all related. It's just human because gaining these tools of pinpoint to at the molecular level. However, you also have to remember in a herbal remedy, typical herbal remedy, it is few thousands, if not more than few thousands of natural compounds interacting with each other. There is this synergy that it is really hard for us to understand with the current model we have in the laboratory setting. I'm a person that always look at both worlds with appreciation, always remain open-minded in terms of, and I do see perfect harmony between the two. For example, I can give you example turmeric, which is a super popular food ingredient here for health reasons, right? Treating arthritis, for brain health. But I can tell you from the herbal medicine lens, right? Turmeric is very hot in nature, and that yellow color, right? Yellow color is also a symbol, goes to a certain kind of organ. It actually goes to your liver. And then the other thing about turmeric is when we look at a turmeric from the herbal lens, we like to use the whole roots. Like I had a coffee line, I combine turmeric with low dose natural coffee, caffeine. So caffeine from coffee beans. And you will say why? Because I read clinical study. That combination even can reverse dementia and Alzheimer in the early stage. Turmeric, again, has certain kind of compound can pass the brain-blood barrier. It can go into our brain through the circulation and work there. So it has very strong anti-inflammatory properties, activities. It can do many amazing things. However, for certain group of people, turmeric can do more harm. I'm not going to spend too much time on it. But then again, if you study modern science, you can pinpoint what are the molecules in turmeric have this anti-inflammation activities, why it's working, that why is what we study now these days in the laboratory setting. So I don't see anything wrong when you combine the two worlds together. I think it only helps each other. Another example is ashtava in one of my wellness juice, Viva, the Italian word Viva. So it's ashtava with aronia berry, dark cherry, and pomegranate. This is great for immunity, great for heart health, anti-inflammatory, all those things. But ashtava is from Japan. It's a super grain. If you look at the nutritional value, because I know you're a well-trained nutritionist, the nutritional value is 10 times, if not probably more than 10 times higher than kale. Kale is considered the most nutritious green vegetables here. But that's like, if you look at like the vitamin K level, certain kind of micronutrient level, it's just amazing. Mm-hmm. But unfortunately, you can only find it in Japan because this little green plant belongs to the carrot family. But unfortunately, we cannot grow it in our backyard. It has to germinate in certain kind of soil climate condition. That again translates into where do you harvest that or how you harvest that. But the modern study actually pinpoint, because the ancient legend has always been Ashtapa is the longevity leaf. It gives you can live forever. You're like, oh yeah, that's just the legend. Yeah, it's just people say that because they were told by their grandparents and then grandparents. Oh. No, actually the modern science proved in the laboratory side, finding a particular 2 compounds in there. It actually protects our chromosome from being damaged. From lots of things can damage our chromosome. And that's why it is so magical. And that paper was published in the Nature. Again, Nature magazine is one of the most prestigious top peer-reviewed journal, right? That was published about 3-4 years ago. Yeah, by a group of scientists. So again, just simply because we don't have clinical study to prove why it's working, it doesn't mean it's not working. But again, you need to understand your body type. Lots of people just blandly say, remember like many years ago, I think garlic was the superfood. Everyone is like, oh, I'm going to eat garlic every day and put garlic and hopefully not in your smoothie, right? But then it comes to turmeric and then it's like, there's always some superfood there, right? Everyone tries to chase and things like that. That one is what I need, or keto diet is what I need. No, you need to understand who you are. Have some compassion to yourself. Turmeric is perfect for your life. May not be good for you. It probably can do more harm to you than helping you.
Yeah, the main thing is you have this traditional Chinese medicine foundation that you have paired so beautifully with life in Western society in the United States. And you've observed both lifestyles and also spent many times in the labs. And yes, we need those studies. We need to see how cells respond to foods, to herbs, to whatever we're throwing at them, and fight oxidative damage and support, the lining of our blood vessels. I'm very much into that. But for listeners, like, the bottom line comes down to, what do I eat and drink? What do I do in my daily life, right? To, as I said, thrive, to feel better, to prevent and reverse chronic disease. You and I are very passionate about this. So let's talk about pairing all of that science in the background and also traditional wisdoms with the food and the ingredients and sourcing of it and how it's supporting our gut health, which also supports our brain function. And how do you go about choosing what you put in different beverages? So for listeners, Angela created this Karviva Beverage company, and you have some amazing beverages out there, products out there. And I think many of us have not seen them. And that's what I wanted to talk about, because what do we do on a daily basis to add to my personal life, like whether it's turmeric or just more prebiotic fiber? And I want to talk about this in terms that resonates with people, or that people understand. What is prebiotic fiber, Angela? Let's go into that. Let's start with just that and supporting good gut health.
Yeah, great question. Again, I would say it is. I didn't mean to cause this intimidation or confusion of your audience that, oh my gosh, I don't know what to do anymore. Should I take turmeric or not? Should I throw it away? Well, again, I would say one thing I do want you to first thing is be mindful to who you are. Right. Don't just treat yourself as a generic. Remember when my kids were little, we saw those Lego movies, right? Like you're just one of those little characters in the whatever Lego thingy. You're not. You are very special. You are here because who you are. You have a unique body setting that's different than everyone else. However, on the other side, we're human beings. So we do share lots of similarities. I would say the basic rule of thumb is really simple. Eat natural food. That means no-brainers. Everyone would agree. Not heavily processed food. Potato, which is potato chip. Sugar cane. I would say sugar cane, if you really eat it as a fruit or whatever, chew on it instead of purified white sugar, as 2 totally different things. Yeah, fruits rich in sugar, like banana, is great for you. Versus if you just, use sugar and use some banana flavor, totally different thing. That's no brainer. The other thing is seasonality. Well, which is hard to do now because now it's so convenient. We can go to grocery store, we can buy any food at any time of the season. I mean, it doesn't matter. You can buy apples throughout the year. You can buy banana anytime you want. However, just imagine in the ancient days, we can only eat up to season. So it is true. If you really just go to the farmer's market, if you love farmer's market, that's actually the best place for you to shop. You get fresh produce, seasonal grow, more kind of, I would say, tailored to your local environment, soil condition. And sometimes because obviously you want to clean your food thoroughly when before you cook, prepare it, but they still carry lots of the good bacteria when they are harvested from the ground. And those good bacteria from your climate is actually really helpful to your body, right? That's the microbiome, the whole thing we were talking about. When you move to another country, another climate, your microbiome will change. They are not the same. They are not the same every day. They are not the same throughout the season. They are not the same when we age, and especially when you relocate. That's why you feel like I'm homesick. So, and prebiotic, it is so important because prebiotic is the only food, those little good little fellows that we cannot see, we cannot hear, but they are there inside our body, billions of them. That's their food. So the good bacteria relied on prebiotic fiber to survive. Not only that, you're feeding them so they're happy. When they thrive, you thrive. But on the other hand, they chew on them, they digest them. When they release the byproduct or the final product, those compounds are essential for many of our physiological functions. Mm-hmm. So I'm sure if you search on the internet, ever get curious, you see the short chain fatty acids was one of the byproducts. It can serve as cellular signals, so it can impact our mental health as well. Versus there are always bad bacteria in our body. Doesn't matter how clean you eat, they're always there. It's just a balance. And when you have more good versus bad, you're in good shape. You don't want to have only good one. Because that's a little bit out of balance too, I can tell. It's almost like that yin and yang balance. So when people get crazy, I'm just going to spend hundreds of dollars buying the most potent probiotic supplements. There are actually plenty of studies to suggest that's not necessarily beneficial for you. Not only you're wasting your money, actually can eventually do some harm to you. So the best way is to cultivate the best mix of the good things inside your body for yourself. From choosing the right food to eat, drinking clean water, all those things, go out, do the right things, be in touch with Mother Nature is so important. There's study to show for little kids who live in like a metropolitan city, they have very few chances to get exposed to natural soil, right? Clean, not contaminated by pesticides or chemicals. Actually, our microbiome is totally different from kids who grow up, kind of have a chance to go out in the garden to play or the park, play in the dirt.
Playing in the dirt is important, right?
Yeah, it is important. And they have less issues in terms of like food allergy, asthma, all those things, getting sick more often or not. So yeah, this is actually so important. So going back, why I focus so much on prebiotic fiber. First, real data, you know that most of people in this country don't eat enough fiber. But we are far from even just the recommended basic minimal amount we should be taking every day. And then the second thing is, I would say people just like to focus on one superfood, which again, your diet should not be just one single superfood. That's not your lifesaver. It should be diversified food choices, right? It's not like, I'm just going to add protein powder, whey powder onto everything, I'll be fine. No. You want to eat, if you want to increase your protein intake, if you're not vegetarian, right? You could eat some lean meat, right? Different type of meat, chicken, beef, whatever you enjoy. Just be mindful how you prepare them. And then if you're vegetarian, there are lots of good protein sources. Like I personally like black soybean is my favorite to go. Quinoa, they are both naturally sugar-free. They're naturally sugar-free. They have complex carb, tons of fiber, high quality protein, has all the essential amino acids your body needs. And then at the same time, they are also very rich in natural antioxidants, which is the animal meat don't give you, except vitamin A and E, they don't give you much natural antioxidants, only coming from plant-based food. So I would say it's just be mindful what you put on your plate. Again, based on the real data, survey data, study, most of the Americans can recognize more than thousands of logos. I'm like, that's amazing. Thousands of logos. I guess teenagers.
But we don't need thousands of different...
TikTok all the time, so right? But I recognize that's the 5 plants in their neighborhood.
Okay, that's staggering.
Yeah, I'm like, there's something not right with us. That's why we have so many mental issues.
Exactly. Okay, that right there is probably the saddest statistic I've heard in a very long time. So let's turn that around. In preparation for our recording today, you'll be happy to know that I did make an asparagus and onion egg scramble. So let's talk seasonality. It's springtime, it's May, and I have
asparagus. Great.
Right. It sounds like we have similar lives and conversations. I just had a client, I was talking about spring vegetables and getting local seasonal foods into your diet. And let's just start right there. If people spent time picking up local produce and eating that every day, combined with some of the herbs. I'm big on herbs and the botanicals that you're talking about. So yeah, I want to make it easy for people and to understand what variety looks like. So I encourage all of my clients to participate in something like a community supported agriculture, CSAs, buy from local farms.
Yay.
Right. And it's so important. And I said to this client just today that why did I choose an onion and asparagus egg scramble this morning? Because that was what was in my farm box. So I had local New Jersey asparagus and onions, and that's what ends up being in my breakfast scramble.
That's so well said, because people always, many of the, especially large grocery channels, say, buy local. You really need to truly support that. And if we can educate consumer about why this buy local, it's not just about we want to have this compassion to support our local fellows, the economy, which is the backing bone of our economy. It's not, of course, the large corporation like Amazon is important, but, well, the local small, those shops, they are so important because not just they are providing your goods. Each of them has a story behind. It's the rich culture of our community. On the other side, buy local is also good for your microbiome in your body. Actually, they love the local produce rather than, again, when you travel to a totally different culture, most people would get some stomach issue. First week or first few days, it is true. That's actually proved again and again. It's because our microbiome is like telling us, we miss your hometown food. We miss what you're doing, right? Unless you are just eating fast food, those chain-made food every day, then maybe you'll be okay. It doesn't matter where you go. But if you do some home cooking, you will know what I'm talking about. So yeah, the local farm produced the food is not only, I think in certain way, is cost saving too, because if you're eating healthy, you really don't need to eat that much. We're just in general, we are just encourage consumption so much, this society. We always buy more things than we really need.
Boy, that's the truth. But back to getting variety, and diversifying your diet, a lot of people struggle with that. And I'm trying to bring this to your beverage company that you created. We're talking eating local and seasonal and fueling what we're eating, but let's talk about what we drink and how, in my opinion, it can be a really helpful way to support people getting more variety in their diet is through what they're drinking. I say this all the time, how coffee and tea, the biggest source of phytonutrients, the antioxidants in our diet. It's important to look at the beverages we're consuming. So tell us a little bit more about how you develop them. We don't have ashtaba growing here naturally. So if that is an ingredient, where do you source it? How do you source it? How do you keep to what you value as far as eating seasonally and locally, yet also call it mass-produced beverages in this country? I'm finding it's fascinating to me.
Yeah, the Karviva Beverages, when I developed them, basically each formulation is based on certain kind of remedies, traditional ancient remedies we've been using for centuries. So ashtaba has been used for, thousands of years in Japan. as a tasty food, green vegetables, as well as a medicinal food for treating many, many diseases. Mung bean sprouts, which I put in many of my juices. Mung bean sprout juice, mung bean sprout juice. Yes, is another good example. It's super healthy vegetables and is super good for your health. We use to treat like heat shock in summer, digestive issues, fever in little kids, detoxify because it has natural compounds actually chelate the heavy metal in your body. So it actually helps you to eliminate lots of chemicals from your body naturally. Not, make you go to the bathroom several times a day. It's not like, that's not detoxing, okay? You don't need that kind of detoxing stuff. So what I really focus on, it is this kind of medicinal functionality.
Functional food.
Yeah. For me, it's like a beverage, the liquid form, both in the traditional medicine and the modern medicine, the liquid form is in terms of the most easy for our body to absorb. Again, we talked about the other day, traditional Chinese medicine, Eastern medicines, it's all about reserving digestive qi, the digestive energy. And that's the reason we like to cook everything, because when you cook everything, you kind of break down lots of parts to digest, like, for example, fibers, all those things, and so it puts less burden on your digestive system, especially for body types. Like lots of women, actually, we are very yin type. According to the traditional Chinese medicine, we're supposed not to eat anything raw. I'm serious. Like raw salad, we're supposed not to touch. For example, if you're already feeling really cold, right? Your stomach's already not feeling well. If you eat a salad, you won't know. You don't feel that great. It's not like salad is the most healthy dish out of all the menu. Sometimes you probably want to steam it. Sometimes just saute it up briefly. Actually, it makes the nutrient much easier for you to absorb. Not to mention like tomato, you have to cook it in order to absorb the lycopene inside. Carrots is the same. Keratin. You need to cook it with some oil, vegetable oil or animal oil, so your body can absorb that. But that's the traditional wisdom. What I try to do is offer something that's really hard or impossible for people to make at home. Is this remedy that you really have to understand why I do this kind of different ingredient combination, what are the ratio to use. It's also like making herbal remedy, but just to promote general health that I see now these days, it is really common. I think that more than 70% of the people in this country we need to pay attention to our weight. Which is sadly, that's what we eat and also the lifestyle we have now these days. It doesn't matter how strong you have mental power or not. I don't believe it's just a mental power thing.
It's not.
It's convenience. It's always there. We see these ads everywhere. And then when we travel, we don't have time to cook all the time.
Right. It's very complicated. It's a lot to do with our gut health.
It's just mental willpower. So never blame yourself. You feel like, I just can't lose weight. So many times it's also because, for example, even using beverage as an example, artificial sweeteners, lots of flavors they use now these days, they actually prevent your body from shedding weight. It's just no way. If you drink those every day, you will never be. Sadly it is. Unless you really starve yourself, that's a different thing. But then your health will probably deteriorate, right? So you don't want to be at this nutrient deficient stage all the time. So I try to provide these remedies that's not only tasty, but also truly offer some health benefits I'm hoping everyone can enjoy and can benefit from. And for me, the sourcing becomes very important because when you look at the medicinal functionality of each ingredient, for example, as simple as goji berry, the best place to source them is that just one particular region in China. Because of the very unique soil condition, is very mineral rich. So it actually enrich all the minerals from that soil in that region, and then you pick them when they are fully ripe, and then the way they do is then they freeze dry everything and break them into fine powder, and then I use those in my beverage. So the nutrients are preserved in there. I would say that's why I do the beverage very different from everyone else, because I do feel like lots of smoothies, yes, there are lots of smoothie, like fruits and vegetable smoothies available on the shelf. Yes, they do provide good convenience. I do think it is nice. Many companies are doing that. However, I feel like if you can easily make those at home, right? But as long as you have a blender, you have 10 minutes of your time. We don't even want to cut our watermelon, right? We buy those fresh watermelon.
It's true.
Yeah.
Frozen berries and a banana, and maybe you slice an avocado. I don't know.
Yeah, exactly. And then you can do whatever you like.
Protein powder, put in your peanut butter, your seeds. Right. I know people tend to do that. It's true. So this goes above and beyond that, right? So this is, your beverages fall into the functional food category. And I think that's a really important distinction to be made. You're talking about remedies, and this isn't picking up a beverage for no specific reason. Now, that said, my disclaimer is I have not tried your beverages, so I don't know what's even written on the bottles. But somebody would pick it up because they're looking to either detox, or I don't know if there's some for general well-being or detoxification or immune support.
Yeah, the detox is actually so important. Again, the detox word in the now these days, if you go on the social media, is very different than our traditional understanding of detox. Detoxing, we actually have to do that. It's a daily thing because we are constantly exposed to, even in the old ancient days, pathogens, different things from the air that's foreign object to our body. And then now these days, a lot of chemicals from shampoo, dishwash, paint, everywhere. It's up to a level our body just cannot naturally eliminate them. Unfortunately, there are lots of natural plants and the compounds, like I mentioned about mung bean sprouts has these natural compounds. It has this biophysical interaction with those chemicals. So it will help our body to eliminate them naturally. Those are the things we do. And then spring is a season we believe you have to detox. Summer, pretty much is detox all year. Right?
There's a lot to be said for that, the spring cleaning.
Yes, yeah. It's almost like spring cleaning.
What are your top ingredients that you use in all of your beverages and then specifically in your detox?
Yeah. So my detox, I love mung bean sprouts. And then I like to use the first drink I developed was the detox with mung bean sprouts, aronia berry, kiwi, Concord grapes. Everyone understands kiwi and Concord grapes are super healthy, tasty. The aronia berry is actually a native Indian. They use it as a natural food and also medicinal food for treating many diseases. So that's the reason I love it. For me, it's not limiting to just a traditional ingredient in Asia, but also like flaxseed seeds. I use a lot in my wellness smoothie. My wellness smoothie is nothing to do with the fruit sweet smoothie. I use whole grains seeds. I love flaxseed seeds, like soybeans, those kind of black soybeans, black sesame seeds. The flaxseed seeds is very rich in fiber, insoluble fiber, soluble fiber, as well as omegas, the healthy omegas, as well as the natural phytoestrogen, which is so beneficial for our natural hormone regulation. So, for example, if you suffer PMS, severe PMS, try to incorporate flaxseed seeds. I don't like to use the whole seeds. Try the grounded flaxseed seeds powder, those kind of fine powder. It's just a little bit easier on your digestive system. And also, if you just eat those, the whole seeds, most likely you just poop them out.
Exactly.
Your body cannot utilize them at all. Yeah.
You just listed my top foods, and I encourage people pretty much daily to consume those, the good seeds, the ground flaxseed, even the soybeans, the black soybeans. I'm going to try. They're on my list. I sprout my own mung beans sometimes. These are very cool things for people. Yeah, I love them. And kiwi, Concord grapes. So these aren't such foreign, outrageous foods that nobody's going to consume. So I love hearing that. And I hope to give people ideas and just open up their eyes in the grocery store too.
Yes,
right?
yes.
Who goes and buys dried mung beans? Not many people. Maybe after this they will. Simple.
Yeah,
things.
dried mung beans is perfect for even like occasionally you have skin breakouts.
Oh,
it works like a charm.
Huh. Yeah, every teenager,
and then
parent of teenagers out there, and listen up.
During fall, winter season is we cook mung beans with different roots. Like one of them is like the traditional. I mean, it's the Asian yam. Is I don't know whether I see. I mean, I see them in the Asian market here. In American supermarkets, well, there are lots of white root vegetables you could use because we believe the white color goes to your lung, which is really good for your respiratory system. Also, that's a good color type of food that we can consume more in spring season. And the other things, like even pear, apple, they all considered as the white type of color food. Then like the berries, dark color is really good for our kidney system. So that regulates our hormone. In terms of emotion, it regulates like fear, like the liver regulates like anger, anxiety, those kind of things.
Excellent.
Then the red color goes to your heart. So the red color foods, there are lots of red color like berries, some spice, herbs, like flour made from flowers, the red color. They're really good for your heart. Sometimes a person, for example, if a girl wants to go too extreme to try to lose weight, sometimes they can feel this heart palpitation. It's like the beating is like you can feel it, something wrong with my heart. You're not going to have a heart attack. And the simple treatment is just eating those red color medicinal food. Many times can reverse that within a day. Yeah.
Sounds so simple. It is. These are very simple foods that we need to really understand how both potent, magical they are. And you mentioned that. I used the word magical specifically because you used that earlier as we were talking. And I just love that. Food has so much healing power.
Yes.
And that's something I reiterate a lot. I love this. And the food synergy that happens only when you eat the whole natural food together in combination with other foods. And so that's something I wanted to come back to as well. I know we've been talking quite a while here, Angela. And again, for May, for mental health, do you have some final recommendations of foods and or beverages, I have to say that, for people to focus on to help with their mental health and to calm anxiety and possibly even sleep better? Because I know that it's all tied together. People have to struggle with the sleep and anxiety in the springtime in particular.
Yeah, I would say simple advice, really simple. There's no such thing called superfood. Every food is there for a good reason. Onions are great, cabbage are great too.
I agree.
Yeah. And then there's the other thing we talk about seasonality. Go to your local farms, shop there, you get some fresh, nice produce, maybe more variety too. So try to diversify what's on your dishes. It's so important. Then I would say don't follow the diet trend. That's my biggest advice. Don't just say, I'm going to do keto, I'm going to do low carb. Low carb, it might be good for, let's say, you try to control your diabetes, you try to eliminate all those refined carbs, white carbs. Yes, you should do that. However, complex carbs are so important. Actually, many of the traditional remedy we use to treat diabetes contains lots of, we call it sweet, naturally sweet. The sweetness is not sugar sweet. It means like when you chew on it, it gives you this sweetness. We use it actually to treat diabetes. It's actually very important for your digestive system because I mentioned about the complex carb are very rich in prebiotic fiber. That's so important for your digestive system. So don't follow those trends, blindly follow them because it may do more harm for you. You may lose a few pounds, but you will find when you stop doing that, because most of them are not sustainable too. You can't follow them in the long course. You will actually gain all the way back and put on even more. That's why you see this all the times.
So true. Yeah. I think endless examples of how foods can help us, natural foods, and really help us heal from the inside out and help us thrive and feel good and support both our overall health, but particularly our mental health. So I wanted to bring it back to that. And one thing I do ask of all of my guests, Angela, is what is one thing you are grateful for today?
Oh, actually, today I'm really grateful just for the nice spring weather. I thought it was going to rain actually at the time when we just started this podcast, and now it's sunny outside. So it's just amazing, the Mother Nature can surprise us, right?
I agree. I have the exact
cloud, now it's sunny outside. So I hope, later today I have to travel, but I hope I will have at least half an hour. I can just go out, take a quick walk. So I'm just grateful for what Mother Nature gives me.
I am. Thank you. I am too.
And then being able to share whatever I inherited from my ancestors, from my training to your audience, it makes me happy. So I appreciate this opportunity.
I'm grateful to have you. It's invaluable knowledge and combined with a whole lot of hard work over many, many years. So thank you too. Thank you for being here. We both have a lot of sunshine we're going to go out and take advantage of. And listeners, one final bit of information from you, and that is where can they find you and these fabulous Karviva beverages that we're all very curious about now?
We're online. We're Amazon, our own website, Walmart, online marketplace. In terms of stores, if you're not in Midwest, we're in many local stores here, but East Coast, we're in Stop and Shop, the Giant Foods, Giant Eagle there. So, but go to our website and you will see the location. You can try to find a store location, but you can also get them online. And then I will be happy to send you some samples to try. We got a new one actually with broccoli sprouts, mummy sprouts, broccoli sprouts, holly basil, cucumber.
Oh my gosh. Okay. I would love to take you up on that offer to try those. I just got so excited,
Yeah.
Thank you, Angela. This has really been a pleasure having you, as I said, and good luck with everything. Hope to chat again soon.
Me too. Really appreciate. Have fun.
Thank you for taking time to join me and listen to this episode. You can find more information and subscribe to the Sense of Wellness podcast on our website at ccphp.net/sens. This show is brought to you by Castle Connolly Private Health Partners, a concierge medicine organization that partners with and supports exceptional physicians to deliver an unrivaled experience of comprehensive, collaborative, and attentive care for a preventative approach on health and optimal well-being for members. Be sure to listen in next time to the Sense of Wellness podcast, and remember, simple daily habits matter most.